COMSC 122, which in here is going to be a Python class. So we've been through the first lecture, and now we're going to go through the second one. And this is, as before, a Colab document. The free textbook is Colab documents, so you can see it live here. So I'll reconnect. And this is the Chapter 2 Google Colab. And looks like it's all right. All right, so I run this just to prepare it to show pictures later. All right, so we're going to use variables and statements, and we're going to talk about import and print. So variables are just names for storage areas where you can store some data. So you can have a variable called n. You just set n equal to 17. That will create a variable called n with enough room to store some numbers, or actually anything you want. And when you run this, it will now assign the number 17 to it. So you can also set pi equal to this. That'll be an approximation of the transcendental number pi. And you can also just set something to be a string. And so now you define those three variables, n, pi, and message. And now you can print it. So we want to display the value of it. You can just put message on a line and it'll print the message. Notice there it is. Okay. You can use the variable as part of an expression. So I can take n plus 25, and up here I set n equal to 17. So 17 plus 25 is probably 42. As a joke, in all these examples, they seem to like 42. Here I can have 2 times pi, and that's going to be 6.28 and change. All right, and you can use functions. So I can round pi. If I don't specify how many spaces, it'll round it off to an integer of 3. I think if I put number of spaces here, like 2, I think this will give me 3.14. Yeah, okay. And here I have a message, and I can get the length of the message, and it's 42 letters. So another way they like to do it in this diagram here, and here is to draw these diagrams showing it. So n contains 17, pi contains that number, message contains that. This is one way to describe it. All right, they call it a state diagram. So your variable names can be as long as you like. They can have letters and numbers, but they can't include a space, and they can't begin with a number. So you can have million. You can also have special characters like punctuation marks. You can use underscore, but nothing else. So here I try to make million bang equals 100,000 or a million or some large number, and you can't do that. You can't have something with an exclamation point in it. If you get rid of the exclamation point, then it's valid and won't complain. All right. And 76 trombones is also illegal because it starts with a number. All right. Class is also illegal, and this is not going to be obvious, and this is a case of most programming languages. In addition to simple rules like it can't contain punctuation marks and it has to start with a letter, there are certain words that are reserved, and that's why it shows up in blue in this environment. There's a whole bunch of words that are keywords that define something special, and here's the complete list. It's about 24 words. Things like import and is and not and or, words that have a special meaning, and you can't redefine them as a variable. They serve a different purpose in the language. So you can import keyword list from the keyword and then see it, and you'll see there's 35 of them. Okay. And like I say, you can spot them here because when you defined a legal variable, like here, where you set pi equals 3.1, you can see the variable stays white, which is the default color. So variables are white, keywords change to a different color. Class is blue. That's your warning that it is a keyword and it cannot be used as a variable name. By the way, if you want to, you could use class 1 or something. And now it's going to turn white, and that's fine. You just can't use the exact keyword. All right. And then there's the import statement. This is really important. The reason why it's so easy to write code in Python is because there's a lot of libraries that do all the hard work. So all you have to do is import the right library, learn how to use it, and that's all your code has to do. It's very nice. So if you want to do math, you import the math library, and now you get various objects. One of them is math.py. That's that transcendental constant pi. And it also has math.square root, so you can do square root of 25. And you have math.pow, which will take 5 to the power 2. All right. All right. And you can also do it with star star. You can do 5 star star 2. That's another way to do the same thing. That'll give you 25 also. All right. All right, and then you got expressions and statements. So you can have a single value or you can have a few values with operators. You can have 19 plus n plus round of math pi times 2. Now, if you do this, I've already mentioned before, you're going to get 19 plus n, which I forget what n is. Let's find out what n is. All right. N is 17. All right. And so 19 plus 17 plus 3 times 2, the multiplication comes before addition. And you could remember that, but I don't recommend remembering that. I recommend putting parentheses around this to make it clear. Now, this has to happen before you add it, and that'll get you to 42. Like I say, I much prefer having explicit parentheses than expecting somebody to remember that multiplication happens before addition. When you get too fancy and you make your code hard to read, you'll be sorry. You won't be able to read it, the other developers on your team won't be able to read it, and you'll end up with trouble. It's a whole lot better to write clear code that's easy to understand. All right, so here you're going to assign n equal to 17. A statement has an assignment statement creates a variable and stores it, but it doesn't print anything out. An import statement imports the library, but it doesn't print anything out either. You can see from the check mark here that it ran and succeeded, and there is no error message, but you didn't print anything out. Now, if you evaluate something, it automatically displays it, but if you evaluate more than one thing, it only displays the last one. So if you want to actually control this, I never do it this way. I always do it with an explicit print statement. Print what you want to print in parentheses, then you can control it. Now it'll print n plus 2 and n plus 3. And of course, it works with anything else. The value of pi is approximately this. And you can combine things that are different. You can combine a string and a floating point value if you just use a comma. That'll just put them on the same line, and the comma will just put a space between them. This is often how I print things out. All right, so the stuff in the parentheses is the argument. This is the print statement, and it has 2 arguments here, 2 strings separated by a comma, which it'll print out. So int takes only 1 comment, like int of the string 101. We'll convert that to an integer. Math.pow needs 2 arguments, 5 to the 2. There's the number you're taking to a power and the power you're taking it to as 2 arguments. And some can take additional arguments, like int of 101. If you don't tell it anything else, it assumes that's in base 10. If you put a 2 here, it will interpret it as base 2. So instead of this being 1s, 10s, and 100s, this will be 1s, 2s, and 4s. So it'll become 5. That's what that 101 is in base 2. And you can round, like I did before, you can round just math of pi, and that will give you the integer part, or you can put a number here and you'll get that many places. Here's 3 places. And some functions can take any number of arguments, like print. You can have as many as you want, and it will just print them all on a line. If you give it too many arguments, like float of 123.0, and then you add a 2 here, which is not necessary, then you'll get an error. You're only allowed to have 1 argument, but you sent it 2. If you have too few arguments, there's an error. If you try to take 2 to the power, but you don't say what power, then it can't do that either. So expected 2 arguments and got 1. All right, and you can send an argument that's not acceptable, like try and take the square root of a string. That's not okay. Now, if you wanted to do that, you could turn it into a float. And then you could take the square root of it. But you do have to do that. The string itself, you can't take the square root, not until you turn it into a number. All right. And you can put comments in. A pound will make everything to the right of it a comment. So you can have a line that's just a comment alone, or you can put a comment here, and that's fine too. So now it's going to calculate the number of seconds and print out the total here. Well, it won't print it out, it just defines it to be seconds, but you could print it out. All right, okay, that's the same thing there. All right. And this is a useless comment pretty much. It just explains you're assigning things. A more useful thing would be v equals 8, and you say what the v is, velocity in miles per hour. That's not obvious, so that's more useful. This helps a human understand what it's doing. All right. And then there's debugging, like we talked about. So syntax errors means that Python cannot run the code because something is seriously wrong with it, like using a string variable, well, like not closing a parentheses or something like that, not closing a quote, serious things. Runtime errors will try to run, but then something will be impossible, like running, for example, when we try to do the square root of a string. it was correctly formatted. The string had a closing quote, and the command to take the square root had a closing parentheses, but when it tried to run it, it turned out that the data in there was not appropriate for the function. And then there's semantic errors, where it doesn't create an error message, but it doesn't do what you intend. This is the most dangerous kind of error. Because your program doesn't give you an error message, so you might not notice that something is wrong. And that's why what you really need to do in a production environment is define unit tests that you run on your code to make sure that every part of it is working as intended. You should have a description of your code, which explains what it's trying to do, and then with your code you should have tests that have test cases that make sure that it's working correctly. This is important because in software development shops, your code will be handled by many programmers and it will be modified many times. And every time they modify it, they will want to run the unit tests to make sure that they didn't break anything important. So they'll want to have a set of tests you can run to quickly verify that all the important functions still work. All right, so here's a syntax error, an illegal variable name. You can't run this at all. That code is not acceptable. Here's another runtime error. If I try to just divide a string by 3, that's a runtime error. It's not a syntax error. It can understand the command, but when it tries to run it, then it finds out these particular values aren't acceptable. And here's a semantic error. I'm trying to get the average of 1 and 3. So I wanted to add 1 and 3 and then divide by 2, but this is going to give me the wrong answer. The right answer is 2. To get the right answer, I'd have to add these parentheses that I was talking about before. You should always use these parentheses to make it clear. Now you're going to add them together and divide by 2. Now you're going to get the right answer. All right. And that's it. That's all I wanted to show you. And I've got some Cahoots that you can try doing. Let's take a look at that. I see somebody, eBay Vons. Someone asking what are the chances of finding a new eBay vuln. I would think it's a lot less these days, but I don't really know. People do find vulnerabilities on websites all the time. There might be new eBay vulns, but they probably will be more complicated and harder to find, I would think. But I am only guessing. So let me see if I can get the Cahoots up. There's a ton of vulnerabilities, but the larger and richer American companies are getting smarter about security, so the vulnerabilities are getting harder to find. All right, this is chapter 2. So let me run this and let's see how many people are Cahooters. I've only got 4 people online. Let's see how many of them you would like to run Cahoots. They're worth extra credit if you're in the top 3. And being in the top 3 will be pretty easy with only 4 players. But we may not even have 4 players. We'll see how many people feel like joining. Anyway, I am interested in finding vulnerabilities. I'm doing it a lot. I've been finding vulnerabilities in Android apps and in Windows apps, although I haven't looked at websites like eBay in a long time. I used to do college websites. Haven't done it in a while. All right, we got a couple. I'll wait a little bit longer. See if we got any other contestants. Help you find new vulns in regards to the checkout process. Well, I'm probably too busy doing other things to really do that, and I'm not really an expert, so I'm a little reluctant to do that. I think I'd rather pass that on to a real pen tester. Anyway, I can ask around and try to find somebody good for you, though. All right, let's give it a shot. 4 people is good. Well, I have to make this smaller. Okay, there we go. All right, so which of these is valid? That's a little hard. Yeah, it's this one. Now, this import something, but that's not the name of the library. It's math. This is backwards. You can't set a number equal to a variable. This one I wondered about, but pass is one of those reserved words. So this is the one that's valid. Pi is 3.14. All right. How about these? Which one is invalid? Okay. All right, this one is valid. This will take 111 and interpret it as a base 3 number. The one that's invalid is this one. You can't take pi 2 to the power when you don't give it a power. It needs 2 arguments and it has only 1. All right, how about this? 1 plus 2 times 3, the stuff they love to do in these challenges, which, like I say, I would not write code this way because it's too confusing for no good reason. But it's 7 because you do multiplication before addition. However, as I say, I would put parentheses around this to make it easier to understand. It's 7. All right. All right, let's see who. I think there's 3 people out of 4 are going to win. I hope if those are your real initials, we'll be able to figure out who you are. If it's a fake name, you'll have to tell me your real name to get your points. Lewis looks like a real name. And Isaiah. All right. Good. So, good. All right, let me stop this video recording.